Hey guys, this is Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. So today I am talking about a brand new palette from Makeup Geek Cosmetics, and it is the Peach Bellini palette, and it looks like this. So this palette retails for $20, and if you have kind of been following Makeup Geek, you know that they have been rebranding themselves and kind of coming out with some new products. So they actually came out with this Peach Bellini palette right before Valentine's Day, and then they also came out with a champagne themed palette. So at first I thought, when I saw the palette, I was just like, you're rebranding yourself, but this is what you come out with. I mean, a Peach Bellini palette. We have seen peach. Too Faced has killed us with peaches, okay? I mean, and then every brand has just taken it and run with it. But stay tuned, so you'll see how my thoughts have changed about the palette. But then I saw some swatches and some promo pictures of the palette, and I was just like, you know what? It actually looks really nice, and this peach palette actually looks very inviting for a woman of color, and it looks like it's going to be very highly pigmented, and it looks like a palette that's going to pack a punch on a woman of color. So I was like, you know what? Let me just try it out. So I ordered the palette, kind of not exactly when it first came out, but right when it came out, and y'all, they lost my palette in the mail, okay? They lost the palette in the mail. The post office is like literally across the way, and they lost the palette, okay? So I gave it time because it's been really, really cold in Chicago, so I knew they weren't delivering mail, which you shouldn't be outside in like negative whatever weather. It's just not that serious. But it was one of those shipping things where UPS was given a package and they shipped it from Makeup Geek, and then they go through Sure Post, I want to say, like that. So that's what it's called. So UPS turned it over to the post office, and it just went downhill after that. Like I said, the post office is across the way, and my package did not make it to my house. So I sent Makeup Geek an email, and I said, my package was turned over to the United States Postal Service on February 9th. It was supposed to be delivered on the 12th, and I don't have it. I was like, it's now like February 18th. So Makeup Geek actually responded to me very quickly, got back to me, and they sent out a new palette immediately. They sent it through Federal Express this time, or FedEx, and they sent it like basically two-day shipping from FedEx, and I got it immediately. They sent me another tracking notice. They said, make sure if you have any questions to just let us know. So the customer service was so on point, you guys, and I just really appreciate it with dealing with Makeup Geek. This is my second time actually ordering from Makeup Geek. I'm not that familiar with their shadows. I know they were like a big YouTube sensation. When I started watching YouTube, I was just like, who are these Makeup Geek people? What are you guys talking about? I've never even heard of a Makeup Geek, but they were just like all the rave because Marlena kind of started the brand with kind of duping MAC shadows that were very popular. MAC shadows were like $12, $13 for a single. I think they were about $6 for a single. And then Marlena's been making some waves, with the Truth of the Beauty Community that came out towards the end of last year. It made just a lot of waves. But she's been repackaging and remaking Makeup Geek. And so the only other palette that I had by them was the Manny MUA palette. And I thought those shadows were nice, but I just never used the palette, so I decluttered it after a while. But so I just really wanted to go ahead and give this palette a chance. But overall, the customer service was very, very great from Makeup Geek, so I have no complaints about that. They had nothing to do with losing my package, but they made sure that I got my palette to me like that. I mean, the post office, I filed a claim with them, and they're still calling me like, did you receive it? I'm like, no, the company sent me another one. They were like, well, this is the station by your house. I know, but they just stopped calling me because you lost it, okay? They sent me another one. So I'm going to go ahead and get into some swatches. This is 8 shades of this palette, and we have 3 foil shades right here, which is Cheers, Prosecco, and Cocktail, and the rest are mattes right here. Like I said, the palette retails for $20, and there's 8 shades. Now, I would say that I'm not very keen on the packaging. I think the packaging should be all cardboard. It did arrive to me safe and sound. It was wrapped in bubble wrap with a little plastic wrap that would usually come over a mirror that was just covered on this, and it was not in a box or anything else, just wrapped in bubble wrap inside the box from Makeup Geek. On the back, you have the eyeshadow ingredients, and it's the Peach Bellini eyeshadow palette. You have the cruelty-free bunny, and it says it's good for 12 months. Once it is open, it's made in the USA and distributed by Makeup Geek LLC, which is in Jackson, Mississippi. So the ingredients are listed on the back, like I said before. And this palette, the net weight is 0.8 grams, and it breaks down to 0.03 ounces each, if that is something that you're interested in. Okay. So let's go ahead and swatch this thing right here. So I'm going to go ahead, and they do have some descriptions on the website of the colors. So we have the shade first up. We have Peaches right here. We'll go first row, and then I'm going to go with the second row. And let's see, you know, I'll probably end up at my elbow because that's the way I roll when it comes to my swatches, no matter how many shades are in the palette. So the first one, we have the shade Peaches, which is right here. It is described as a true peach matte shadow. The second shade right here is called Prosecco, and it's a peachy, silvery, foiled eyeshadow. I'm just going to go ahead and spread that out again. This third shade we have is called Bellini, and it's a medium warm brown matte, which I think is very true. Then we have Nectar, which is described as a bright peachy pink matte. And it's on my pinky, so let's try that again. This is the shade Nectar again. This is actually one of my favorite shades in the palette. Okay, for the bottom row, another favorite shade of mine is called Cheers, and it is a red brown foiled eyeshadow. That is so pretty. Right up my alley. Then the next shade we have is Juicy, which is a deep terracotta matte shadow. Gorgeous, honey. Gorgeous. The next shade we have is Cocktail, which is a warm brown shimmer. This is very pretty also. Then we have Venice, which is a deep brown matte eyeshadow with a plum undertone, and this shade is gorgeous as well. I think the whole palette is just really pretty. These are the swatches of the palette. I was like, let me re-swatch that first one for you. So this is a better swatch of the shade Peaches. This is pretty broken up. Some of the shades, they swatch okay, but as you see in the demo, I did not have any problem working with the shades. These are the swatches. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I have my eyebrows filled in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Caramel. No news here. And then I have my Urban Decay Primer Potion on in the shade Caffeine. And those are like staple products in my collection. So let's go ahead and get started with the Makeup Geek palette right here in these gorgeous peachy tones. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a Sephora Pro number 10 brush right here. And I'm going to go in with the shade Peaches first. Looks like this. Just go ahead and pick it up. And I'm just going to go back and forth, kind of as a transition color above my crease. And this is like a light wash of peach color. And I'm just building up this shade back and forth. It's blending out very easily. I did not set my primer. I hardly ever set up my primer anymore. And it's very little kickback in the pan. So let me show you the pan. Looks like this, very little. Okay, so I actually brought you guys in a little bit closer, and this is what it looks like once it's blended out. And it blended out very easily. I did just go ahead back and forth, just kind of build up the color. But that's just like my personal preference of what I like to do. So the palette isn't looking too bad. I did kind of flick in a little bit more, and I do have just a tiny bit, but nothing bad, nothing outrageous, okay? So then I think I'm going to keep the same brush right here. This is the Sephora Pro 10 brush. And I'm going to go in with the shade Nectar, which is right here. And I'm just going to, it blends nicely on top of this color, but what I'm noticing immediately, they kind of blend in just a tiny bit together. It is a shade warmer and does add more peachness to the look. So I wouldn't say they're exactly the same, but they definitely kind of blend right in with each other. So this is a little bit lighter up here, and then we get a little bit darker in that area, which is not bad. So if you go in with this shade by itself, you know, probably really pack a punch. But that first shade that I used, oh, now that I build it up, you see it's really building up. But you see Peaches is one of the lightest matte shades. But I really like this shade Nectar. So we're looking like this so far, and overall I'm feeling how this is looking. I'm gonna go ahead and take, if I can find it, my MAC 224 brush right here. And this is from the synthetic line, like I always say. I'm gonna go back in with Peaches just a tiny bit and just kind of buff it a little bit closer up towards the brow bone. So since we added that shade Nectar, I just want to make sure it's like diffused out, and you can tell it's like a gradient. So sometimes once you've covered over your transition shade, or your first shade as they call it, all these makeup terminologies, huh? You just want to, sometimes you can lightly just go back and just kind of fix up your blending right there, and making sure that your first color is shown. Okay, so now I think I want to go in with, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and I think take the shade Venus and then the shade Cocktail. Cocktail is more of a shimmer, it's a satiny finish right there, and put these in the outer crease. And for my outer crease, first I'm going to go ahead with the darkest shade in the palette, which is Venice right here. It's very deep dark. Kind of reminds me of a peach pit. And I'm just going to dab this right here. I love using the Sephora Pro. This is actually not Sephora Pro. This is a Sephora magnetic brush, and it's for the crease. I love this brush. And this line is actually a lot less expensive than some of the other brushes. And I'm just going to dab this here. I feel like now like this is one of the most effective methods for me to kind of get my color right here on that little corner, that outer V of my eye. And then I will blend it out in just a second. Okay, so I'm looking like this. I kind of got my outer V set up. Now I'm going to go in with this Sephora, this is from the same line, this is the magnetic line, and this is just called an eyeshadow brush, literally, and it's just a flat shader brush. And I'm going to go in with the shade Cocktail. Right here. And since this is a shimmer, I'm going to make sure I tap it off. I'm just going to lightly put that over the shade Venice and kind of marry it together. Now I'm not using a blending brush yet. I'm just using this brush to kind of go back and forth to diffuse that color together. And sometimes I prefer that method because a lot of times we just blend, then we have to add more, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that sometimes we do a lot of unnecessary work, or we just kind of take away from our work where we can just lightly go ahead and blend it out later. And I really recommend that if you're like in a rush, you know, just kind of get your colors on and then blend it out. And I do have a tiny bit of fallout with those two darker shades, probably the shade Cocktail, because I did not spray it and it's more of a satin shade, but it goes on really nice and it feels very nice and it feels very smooth. Okay, and then I'm gonna just keep that same brush. I just wiped it off on a little towel that I used dedicated for my makeup to wipe it off, and I'm gonna go in with this beautiful shade called Cheers. And I don't know if I said it before, I did wear this palette to work the other day, and it was very pretty. And this shade is smooth also, like Cocktail. It's not a high, I wouldn't say these are shimmers, but they're definitely satin with some metallic finish to it. But they're not a high metallic shade. But this color, it's my jam. I'm here for it. And look how smooth it goes on. I mean, that is just smoothness. I did not even wet that shade, and it went on so effortlessly. Okay, so we're looking like this. And so since we're here playing, let's try to wet it so we can see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm grabbing my Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray right here. And I'm just gonna pick up some of Cheers. That was the last shade I just laid down. And I just wanna see what it looks like once we wet it. I mean, it goes on beautiful without any Fix Plus or setting spray. I had the Urban Decay Urban Setting Spray. Ooh. Okay, so it just gives it a little extra shine. It doesn't bring any more intensity out of it, but I think it does just add a little bit more oomph to it, because if you look at this eye, it's a lot more bold and you can see a lot more sheen of the color versus this particular eye. So I do think you do get a certain effect by wetting it. It's just not hyper metallic, but it's definitely, it brings more metallicized or more pigment out of the shadow versus this one. But it looks highly pigmented. I'm pleased the way it looks on this side, but if you know me, I love this side better. So I'm just going to go ahead and touch up the other side too. Then I'm going to just go ahead with a little pencil brush right here. This is from Juvia's Place. And I'm going to go ahead and take this little light shade called Prosecco. I can hold the palette. There you go, Prosecco right here. And it's like a Prosecco color, champagne-y. I think it serves a purpose. And I'm just going to kind of put it right here in the inner corner. And I did bring this shadow down, so it's not like you can see it a whole lot, but it does bring some lightness to the eye. Okay, now we gotta blend, okay? So we need to blend all of our look out, okay? So I think I'm gonna start right in here in the corner. And then actually I have my favorite 224 MAC blending brush, but I'm going to go in with something a little bit more tapered around my outer V. So I'm going to go in with this Sigma small tapered blending brush, and this is the E45 right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and start blending out. In the circular motions and bringing it in, just making sure it's smooth and flawless. And then we'll go ahead and add more color if we need to. I'm just going to blend out this side also. And I think this is like just so much more effective sometimes if you're like in a rush to get somewhere, you know, just get your transition, sorry, I'm like, I think I got a little eyeshadow on my eye. Just get your transition color set up and that part blended out, and then I just really like to just kind of lay down my lid shadow and my outer V shadow. I definitely need definition with most of my looks, otherwise my eye just kind of gets lost. So, and I think that's so much easier sometimes than blending. I like that method, but I think it's very time consuming. I mean, it's very time consuming. I'm gonna take that same E45 brush and I'm gonna go in with the shade Venice right here. such a deep, beautiful brown. I'm just going to add a little bit more in right there. Make sure I have it close to my lash line. But, you know, sometimes we don't have all that time to dedicate to blending. And I think we can achieve the same type of look, you know. Nobody's going to know that you spent all that time blending sometimes. As long as you're looking blended in the final product. But, you know, certain more intricate looks take a lot more time to blend. Oh, I'm loving how smoky this looks. Okay, now I'm gonna go back in with that 224 MAC brush right here, and then I'm just gonna make sure that this part right here is blended out. And make sure right here. Let's see. And I was like, I did not use, let's see, in this look, I did not use Bellini and Juicy. Juicy looks like a beautiful color too. I think I'm gonna run that underneath the lash line right here. And I'm gonna go in with this Juvia's Place pencil brush again. Just pick up some Juicy right here. Tap it off a little bit so we don't get so much fallout. I don't know. I think it's a beautiful color, but I don't know if I'm keen with it underneath my lash line. Let's see. Okay. So we're just gonna nix that. You know, sometimes makeup is like that. You know, you start doing something, you're like, no. Okay, that is not what I wanted to do. But I think we can make this look a little bit smokier. I'm just gonna go back in with that crease brush by Sephora, pick up the shade Venice, stamp some more right there, just intensify it. I think I do want to make it a little smokier. And then we'll go back and blend, of course. Okay. Going in, I'm going to get a little bit more of a fluffier brush. This is a random Sephora brush I found when I was decluttering my makeup collection. I was like, oh, this is a nice brush. Where did you come from? I'm just gonna go ahead and go in with a little fluffier brush right there to diffuse this. Okay. This is the finished look. I hope you guys like it. I will link the rest of my makeup details down in the description bar, but I am wearing the shade Henneways, and this was a Colourpop collab with Ellery, and this is the Ultra Matte. And I did just finish off with some wing liner and a little mascara just to complete the look. I feel like I'm almost one of those people that if I don't have a little bit of dark eyeliner on, my eyes get lost, and I just don't feel like my makeup looks are complete without it. But if we're gonna just talk about the palette, I think it's very versatile, and I'm like welcoming it to my collection. This is like my second first impression of it. I did wear this palette to work the other day, and the shadows lasted for a very long time. I think the pigmentation is really nice. Now the shade Peaches, it shows up, and the shade Nectar, and I did not use the shade Juicy, but I really just like the color combos that were put in the palette. I think this is a peach palette that's done just right, just edited down just to enough peach shades where it's not overkill and it's not too much. Now I do think that we could have just done like one more shade that was a foiled shimmer, and maybe just a shade that was in between, like maybe the same color as Peaches, just another shimmer shade. But I don't really know what shade I will want to be taken out of the palette in order to get that, because I think that Prosecco does have a place. You kind of need that shade, but if it was just something a little bit more goldenly, a little bit lighter peach for a shimmer, I think I would appreciate it. But overall, I think you could do this palette daytime. I think you could do it nighttime. I think it's something that you could take to work and pop it in your bag and then put this shade right here that's called Nectar in your outer V and just really turn up the intensity on your look. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, this is such a pretty dark chocolate brown and it blends out very effortlessly. I think like the bottom row is very nighttime appropriate. The top row is very daytime appropriate. You can do like I did, mix it up and achieve your own type of look for whatever look you're going for. If it's nighttime, daytime, work, just out and play, whatever you're feeling like. And I think it's just added. It's just the right amount of shades. But like I said, I would like to see that one shade just kind of added in. As I said before, I think the packaging is just okay. I do kind of like how you can see the shades now that I think about it. But this part right here to me just screams cheap. And I'm not sure if... I just think that we could have just made it sleek, covered it right here, just had a standard cardboard finish to it, and that would have just really completed the look of the palette. And I'm not sure, I'm not really liking the bubbles around it either. I'm not really feeling it. But the color of the packaging is fine. I think it just needs to be sleek and just says Peach Bellini, maybe in some type of metallic dark peach writing or something like that, just to make it a little bit more uniform and not just so cheesy, because this kind of looks like any old thing that you could pick up and not like a quality eyeshadow palette, if you get what I'm saying. But overall, I think the blendability of the shadows were great. The foil shadows were really nice and were very easy to work with. They weren't very crumbly, especially the shade Cocktail. I did have a little bit of fallout right here, but what I tend to notice is that foil shades that are darker, they tend to be a lot more crumbly and a little bit harder to work with. But I did not have a problem. As you saw in the demo, I was able to go ahead and pack on these foil shades without any Fix Plus, but the Fix Plus just kind of took it to the next level. Now, I know Makeup Geek is really known for their foil shades and their mattes because, you know, kind of came out with like the duping of MAC. But these are not high intensity foils, but they're just enough. And I'm really feeling the color combination. I think this is like a nice simple palette that we didn't really know we needed, but now that we have it, I'm just like, this is nice. I like it. I think you could just throw it in your bag and travel with it. It's going to work. So the only thing is I just don't know about this for traveling, to be honest. It should be cardboard, honestly. But overall, I think even with enhanced with the customer service experience that I received from Makeup Geek, I think it's great. You know, like I said, my package got lost in the mail and they didn't even like, it was an immediate response and they sent it out FedEx, like an express FedEx. So overall, I'm very happy with this palette, like I just kind of keep saying. And just let me know down in the comments what you think about the palette. Are you going to pick it up? Does it seem a little less boring now? You know, just to be real, we've seen these shades time and time again. The peach craze is just, it's come, it's gone, it's come back. We thought it was over. It was back again. It was like a phase that just wouldn't leave us, partly because of Too Faced. But just let me know what you feel down below about this palette, and turn on your notification bell so you know when I'm uploading another video, which will be very soon. And I will see you guys later. Bye. And oh, I gotta do my chair dance because I didn't even do it in the last video. Ooh. I like my eyeshadow. Boom. Bye.